Oo, tayo muna ang magko-coffee break kasi very busy ang ating dalawang coffee buddy at tea buddy.
Wala po sila ngayon sa office at marami silang pinagkakaabalahan.
Pero exciting itong episode natin kasi
especially with our guests.
Especially with our guest. And, oo nga, no? Yung mga mahilig mag-travel dyan, di ba? Talagang patok yung topic natin. So, good afternoon. Welcome to Coffee Break, Reflections and Conversations. I am Rowena, Apolinario, your resident mama and tita.
Coffee Break is a relaxed discussion of management principles over coffee, tea, or your choice of drink. I am Janny Surmieda.
Hello. So, yan, on behalf of our co-coffee break buddies, diba? So we have Dridge Reyes and Dan Anthony Dorado. So join us here on our coffee break. Last September, we talked about opportunities with an information science course with Mr. Brian Desono as our speaker. This afternoon, we will talk about how it is working in multicultural organizations. This is, of course, true to our goal of inviting international resource speaker for the second leg of our coffee break. This afternoon, we will have a registered Filipina librarian currently working as the head librarian of the Oriental Institute of the Academy of Sciences in Czech Republic, a research institute founded in 1922 under the umbrella of the Academy of Sciences. Before coming to Czech Republic, she worked as senior librarian in the University of the South Pacific Emmalus Campus, Republic of Vanuatu from 2018 to 2019. An expert manager at Nazarbayev University, Republic of Kazakhstan from 2016-2018, and was a postdoctoral fellow PhD research in LIS at Kyungpook National University, South Korea from 2015-2016. Before becoming an international librarian, she also had an opportunity to serve as the director of Thomas Jefferson Information Center, the Information Resource Center of U.S. Embassy Manila, and the Director of Learning Resource Center of University of Ilo-Ilo. Her stories on working in a multicultural environment has been a topic in several of her publications. The most recent is the narratives on the enhancing cultural competence of MIVAN librarians funded through ALA Diversity Grant 2019. Everyone, let us all welcome Dr. Reysa Alenzuela.
Hello, Prof. Ray. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, Janny. It's nice to have a chat over a cup of coffee.
Yes.
Both of you.
Reysa, kumusta? How are you?
Well, it's good here. Good but busy. Malamig na dito. Yun lang maaalala ko, malamig na dito.
Anong temp? Anong temp? In Celsius?
In Celsius, kanina pag-alis ko, 1 degree. Ngayon, 4 degrees.
Oh.
4 degrees.
Nahiya naman ako sa 23 degrees na air conditioning.
Take away dyan. Sumasara ang pores.
Nakakapaganda ng skin, no?
Sana nga.
Oo.
Nakakapagpainis po ng skin kapag malamig.
Oo, and right now, I'm sorry, hapon na, kasi dito sa Philippines, no? Diyan, it's morning.
8-ish in the morning.
Okay.
8 in the morning.
Oh, Reysa, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being our resource speaker, and we're very happy to have you on the October episode of Coffee Break. So alam ko maraming tao talaga ang I think a lot of Filipinos would like to work abroad, no? Specifically, marami ring librarians who would like to work abroad. And prior to you working there in Czech Republic, are there any like notable experiences you had in your previous work in the Philippines? Kasi you've been, syempre, Nazarbayev, diba? Tapos nag-Kazakhstan, ganyan. So were there any notable experiences you had working in the Philippines that really led you to working abroad? Any
Probably,
notable?
a bit of timeline na lang siguro. How I
Okay.
started. Actually, I really started, well, I'm in Ilongga. I think some of you knew I'm in Ilongga. Kaya pilipit din na Tagalog ko. Careful kayo, mamaya. May accent ako. Well, anyway, but yeah, so I started in 1999 when I graduated and I got my license in librarianship. So actually, I started for a few months as a graduate school librarian in University of Ilo-Ilo. So that was my first job. Tapos, that time, the moment I came in, they actually offered me that this job is actually in need of someone who has master's degree in master's in library and information science for accreditation purposes. So alam naman natin, I mean, a lot of institutions were struggling way back then for an MLIS, a qualified person to lead the university. So that was a start. So basically, that actually led me to UP Diliman. I was then working or rather studying Bachelor of Laws. Pero yun in the middle, naisip ko, sabi ko, I mean, I have time to study, to still study during summer. So just to help the university, I took the I took the call kasi way back then, most of my colleagues in the office were raising their kids, maliliit pa yung mga anak, or about to settle down. So basically, I think I was in the right place at the right time, kind of just a perfect timing. Significant things that happened. So but basically, that led me to my international path. So basically, when you, as you mentioned, dati ako sa Teacher IC nagtatrabaho. So yeah, after UI, became a director. To cut the story short, when I had my master's degree, and then I finished my first PhD, which is in educational management, nagtrabaho ko sa Teacher IC. But after Teacher IC, I was there for more than 5 years. Naisip ko, I'm not that old yet then. So sabi ko, I mean, if I wanted, I would want to work here my entire life. It would take me 30 years. Dun pa rin ako. I mean, it's not that it's not fascinating. Everything, there's really something new. But for me, I mean, this is still the same thing. Gamay ko na. Tapos, how would I say it? Limited ang travel ko because we're very, very busy. We can travel usually for work, and we also have lots of trainings, even actually in Europe. Pero hindi siya, iba yung travel, iba if you leave outside the country. So like it dawned on me like after 5 years, sabi ko, I mean, I think I wanted something else. I wanted to do something else. So that made me decide to resign. So uncertain. So, but yet, sabi ko, kaya naman siguro pwede akong bumalik sa Ilo-Ilo in the meantime while preparing everything. So yeah, that's what I did. Within 2 years, I went back to Ilo-Ilo. Hindi rin madali maghanap. Alam ng lahat yan who studied abroad. Hindi madaling maghanap ng scholarship. So my first thought is in order for me to be competitive, I needed another PhD in information science. So nag-apply ako Canada, nag-explore ako sa UK. Pero itong Kyungpook National University at saka yung KGASP, yung Korean Government Scholarship, came in. And doon ako napaisip kasi PhD research lang siya, so 1 year lang. So sabi ko, if I do another full PhD, matanda na ako before ako magkaroon ng career ulit. So it's really starting from the beginning. So I just do PhD research. So so luckily I got in naman in Korea. It was only a 1-year program. And then while I was still in Korea, I was already scouting for where I wanted to go. Pero may criteria ako noon, which is the same criteria I have until now where I wanted to work. So first, I don't want a mainstream country. Ayoko ng US, ayoko ng Canada, ayoko ng UK. So sabi ko, hindi masyadong ma-pronounce sa country. So yeah, that's where I started to think of like Kazakhstan. So I think I've explored Latvia, Malta, and other countries as well. But well, I got in Kazakhstan from the start. So yun, I went to Kazakhstan. And then after a year, there's another opportunity. Nakita ko naman may posting Vanuatu. Medyo maayos ang salary at saka benefits. And it's like, who wants to be in like the other side of Hawaii and malapit Australia and New Zealand? So I ventured again. I applied for Vanuatu, and luckily I got it after a year. So yun, lumipat ako ng Vanuatu. But for some reasons, personal reasons, I needed to leave Vanuatu. So yun, actually my lull again. I resigned in Vanuatu, and then I went back to the Philippines, tapos nagka-COVID. Pero actually, before I resigned, there was already something in mind where I should be. Pero nagka-COVID, na-stop yung hiring process nila. So, natagalan ako ng konti, and then there's this, I applied in so many places. That's to be honest. I mean, nare-reject ako, madami din akong rejections. So, I was in the Philippines waiting for anything. Everything was so uncertain during COVID. But luckily, I got one of those, yung sa Czech Republic. It was here. So I had an interview last year and decided to come here for all the reasons I can think of. First and foremost, it's Europe.
Yes. Gabi, Reysa, and I think, kasi nakilala na kita, TJIC ka pa lang, diba? And I think doon kita talaga nakilala sa TJIC. And then, there were some instances na magkasama rin tayo sa talks. And, tapos nakikita ko rin yung journey mo talaga na nung nag-Kazakhstan ka, tapos nung nag-Vanuatu ka, as in, tapos nung nasa Ilo-Ilo ka, and you were also telling me na parang, syempre, modesty aside, diba? Pero syempre, medyo nasanay ka na sa malaking salary. Tapos iba rin kapag nasa probinsya, ganyan. And talaga naman siguro, you struck me as someone who really should be working in multicultural organizations. So I think talagang kaya mong makipagsabayan, no? So, ang ganda nung story mo, inspiring, and tama ka, no? Nung sa TJIC, sabi mo, hindi ka pa nga naman, ang bata mo pa noon. So, and you took a lot of risks.
Yeah.
Ang galing, grabe.
Mas ma'am, ang ganda pakinggan ng story ni Dr. Reysa, no? Parang from the provinces going to the international level, ang ganda niya pakinggan. Tapos doon nakita ko, ma'am, aside po doon sa yung motivation niyo na wag pumunta doon sa isang country na in a way tawag dito mas
mainstream.
Mainstream country.
Yung mainstream yung sabi niya.
Aside from that, ano pa po kayo ibang naging motivation ninyo in working abroad?
Well, for me, okay, nasabi na rin ni Prof. Rhea, salary is one of the reasons. Siyempre, ang layo niya. Pero except for Czech Republic, okay, hindi mataas sa salary ngayon dito. Pero I mean, well, it's still competitive. I could still live a decent life. Pero yun nga, one of course, who doesn't want a good salary? It was really a great benefit. Malaki yung benefit sa ibang countries prior to that, especially Vanuatu. Of course, another motivation. Babaw nito mga reasons ko. I'm really sorry, but this is just how I did it. 4 seasons. I wanted a country with 4 seasons. Ayaw ko ng mainit.
That's a valid reason. Okay.
Yeah. But seriously, actually, I wanted new learning. Naboboard ako. Madali ako maboard. And I thought like going out of the country, I would be able to learn new skills in dealing with diverse group of people. Tama kayo. That was really actually my goal. Some people, they thought this could be intimidating, but for me, this is exciting. So, and broadening my understanding of other people and the work environment, ano ba yung mga librarians outside the country? Mas magaling ba talaga sila kaysa sa atin? Or ano yung mga inaral nila? Pareho ba sa mga inaral natin? And little by little, I was seeing that whatever I learned outside the country, medyo na-integrate ko na rin somewhere in a little way in places where I still work in the Philippines. Kasi, I mean, at some point, minsan nagtatrabaho pa rin ako sa Philippines. And in fact, right now, I'm still working as a professor in Central Philippine University. So for me, on top of that, actually, I volunteer. I sincerely wanted to volunteer na I wanted to help organizations or libraries as well in the Philippines. But I just wanted to note this. This might be a bit halfway from our discussion, but actually the very reason why I wanted to go back to the Philippines to help a bit was that there was a time way back late, Attorney Santos, when I was about to go to South Korea. Sabi niya, hi, kayong mga librarians, I don't know what was his term, like younger librarians, sabi niya, maalis na kayo ng bansa, so sino na lang yung matitira? That was kind of the context of what he said. So I said, like, actually, I may not be here, but I'll try to help as much as I can, which I try to keep my promise. So we're creating little projects everywhere. But I know a lot are doing well in the Philippines naman. So ang ginagawa ko, konting support na lang for most of them. So but yeah, I mean, it's always my intention, whatever I learned from out abroad, hopefully I could bring it back to the Philippines, or not just in the Philippines. Now I didn't even realize I could also share it with other countries where I physically work in, or even those outside, kasi borderless na tayo ngayon. So I think that's the best takeaway I have, like motivation I had, like why I work abroad.
That's very noble, Reysa, and I remember, no, kasi nga through social media, talagang I think you posted that also before, na parang kahit na you're away, you're trying your best to help the Filipino librarians and the LIS field in the country. And I know you're doing that. No, you have advocacies, nagtuturo ka pa nga rin dito, and you're mentoring also some students, no, to do research. So nakakatuwa na kahit na nandyan ka, at least we are also gaining from your experience. No, hindi ka madamot na tao when it comes to sharing your knowledge. Okay, so ano naman yung, guro curious lang din ako, and there might be some listeners who are curious, no? Paano mo nalalaman yung opening abroad? Ano, saan ka ba nagsisearch? Yan, ganyan.
I think hindi na ako nagsisearch.
Oh, wow!
Nag-list serve ako. Well, anyway, okay. So specifically for this job in Czech Republic, I came to know it through the global email list for librarians. It's we know IFLA has an emailing list. ALA has another. I'll be sharing probably some of the sites later. And I've been a member of the American Libraries Association for quite some time. Kaya din, those are the reasons why I get some grants. So IFLA also, I'm a member. So that helped me. That helped me actually. Second, yung collaboration with other librarians all over the world. So basically, since I think I can say I'm already in the mid-career, and I did conferences before, so I bumped into a lot of people more, how would I say this, more popular than I am. It's not just about popularity, but like, yeah, they are like pretty significant people in the field. So every now and then, even if I would miss some opportunity, sometimes they would send me a message. Or the good side about like probably being involved in organizations and having kind of a digital footprint, or even just social media footprint, is people can find you and they would see your CV. So there was even a time, or there's several times I got invited personally. Yung isang director, she's Australian, I believe. She invited me to join her team in Malaysia, but it's Monash University. I think Monash University, Malaysia. So yeah, most of the time, it's from email list. B, it could be the organizations where I collaborated with, or presentations where I did before, and they've known my qualifications a bit. So yeah, that helped. But specifically here in OI, actually nakakatawa to kasi syempre that was COVID time. So nakikita ko tong mga posting na to, that like this is something available available. But actually, I was more interested in Malta. There was an American University in Malta. So supposedly doon ako. And then I was thinking of going back to Nazarbayev University then. Pero may isa akong friend, sabi niya parang, uy, apply ka dito. Sabi mo gusto mo Europe, diba? So napaisip ulit ako. Sabi ko, may Malta ako na ina-applyan eh. So ayoko na. Parang napaisip ako. Actually, talaga, it's not off the record kasi hindi ganun ka-promising ang salary dito. So parang so parang napaisip ko kaya ko ba mabuhay dyan? Well, anyways, I know that Czech Republic or Poland or the similar countries is not really having a high cost of living. So para alam ko naman, kaya naman. So, well, anyway, sige, apply lang. And hindi ko naman inisip if I could really get in. And sabi ko, maybe I can't. So, but I already got an interview before that in Ireland. So, para sabi ko, baka may chance. So, yun, mga ganun. So yeah, so I applied. To cut the story short, I was interviewed. The whole group of who interviewed me were really fascinating. Most of them are guys. Most of them are Caucasians from different places. And then, but of course, there's another lady who's a member of the team. Given that she's also the head of the department, I like the vibes. I like the vibes from the beginning. How we talked, how level-headed they are. So sabi ko, ay, ang ganda nito organization. And luckily, I was chosen. I was chosen as well. So in the beginning, madami akong hinagol sa kanila. Madami akong tanong. Pero mabait talaga yung former director. In fact, he has a higher position right now. So yeah, so I gave in. I said like, okay, since it's still Europe, I'm in.
Yun. So, I just remember, kasi nga, sabi ko nga, why Europe, diba? And you have a criteria na dapat dapat talagang 4 yung season. So, talagang pasok na pasok. Tapos, although hindi kilala rin naman kasi yung Czech Republic, oh. So, hindi siya mainstream, pero, diba, a lot of people would want to go there. Tapos I think you mentioned something about yung having contacts. And I think that's what we need to inculcate also to our young professionals. Diba? Sometimes when we attend conferences, we shy away from talking to people na parang we normally would group together as Filipino librarians, ganyan. Pero parang nabanggit mo rin na it's important to have contacts abroad. Diba? We network. And that's one of your parang reasons, no, kung paano ka rin nakilala sa ibang bansa at talagang member ka ng American Library Association at nagiging active ka doon. So ayan, take away din yan na talagang dapat makichika, diba? Parang ganun makinetwork at makipag-collaborate na hindi nahihiya din naman. Okay, sige.
Oo nga po, ma'am. As in, talagang yung nakuha ko kay Ma'am Reysa, talagang dapat talaga i-maintain saka palakihin natin yung network natin in terms of our sa profession, ano. Kasi isa ako doon sa sinasabi ni Ma'am Rhea na when we go to the conference, I tend to shy away from the people. I tend to have my own spot and that's my spot. Pero ayun, hindi pala siya ganun kaganda. And I think starting now, I'll start to grow my network and I hope to all the librarians that are watching us, start growing your network and maintain that network, no?
That's true. And if I may add, hindi rin madami ang kaibigan ko in other networks, but like the ones I met, nagiging true friends ko sila. So I think that was the good side of it because you get to know them somehow personally as a person and like akala natin parang uy mga bigatin to parang sobrang hindi sila ma-reach but like actually what's amazing with them is like the more accomplished they are, the more humble they are and like they're always willing to help. I mean, as long as we're just sensible, we just have we are also considerate about how busy they are. But like, yeah, they would even take time on a personal level if like you became friends na. Sobrang yung iba actually realize para din silang Pilipino. Like I had a fellowship in Australia we had this friend from Portugal. He was really a wonderful guy. We thought all the while, like, postdoc, nakailang postdoc na siya, sabi namin, ay bongga to. Pero ano lang, cool lang pala sila. Tapos there's another girl from China, and then I have a couple of friends in the US, and I think kilala niyo, famous si Raypon. Raypon is in Stanford, but like he's really willing to help everyone. Magkaibigan din sila ni Joseph, and I think he's everyone's friend. But yeah, I mean, these people are really cool. So yeah, I mean, my takeaway, my suggestion, my recommendation for young librarians is yun nga, I mean, try to talk to some of them. You may not necessarily need to be a social butterfly. You need to be machika. Kasi just be sincere as well. Just be sincere. I mean, wag masyadong pasikat din. Just be what you are and ask whatever curiosity you have out of it. And definitely they will answer you.
Ayan, thank you very much, Ma'am Doc Reysa. Yung sa mga nakikinig natin, take it from Doc Reysa. It's based from experience.
Reysa na lang.
Sorry po, lagi talaga yung Doc Reysa. Ma'am, iba po ako, ma'am. No? So you're working in international organization na rin for the past years. No? So ma'am, I'm wondering, how is it working there in terms of the organization and the people you are working with? Kamusta naman po sila? Kasi ang layo nung, in terms of ano natin, ang layo eh. Pero kamusta po sila?
Yeah. Well, probably there's one thing in common in all organizations I've been to, and I'll just zero in to Czech Republic, to OI. So one thing in common, dahil scholars, majority sa kanila. Actually, they're not snobbish. They're really open-minded. They're kind-hearted. They're warm. Yeah, so, and they're very, very sensible. Or like you learn a lot from them. Siguro, I mean, a lot of things that I've learned about is came from them. I mean, alam naman natin if LIS, Information Science, and Librarianship are multidisciplinary. So it's nice to talk to these people because they might be in different fields, and mostly we are in social science. But like they're really, for me, they're really fun to be with. They're cool. Walang ere, walang hierarchy. So when it comes to OI, I can say I love the efficiency in terms of the organization. I love the efficiency, the sincere care they have, the lack of discrimination. It's really true. I'm the first librarian in Oriental Institute, 100 years old na to. Para siyang, that's the reason why I'm emphasizing Academy of Science is the like big umbrella, is that para siya kasing CNRI or yung research institute, major research institute ng France or US. So ano talaga siya, sikat siya, or like when you say you come from the umbrella of Academy of Science, it means that yung mga tao talaga dyan, they are real scholars. So parang ganon. So since I'm the first librarian, I saw how they cooperated, how they supported me, and majority actually of the heads of the departments are male. Yes, male, and so like it's very diverse in terms of sexual orientation, in terms of religion, or although I don't really know what are our religions in particular, but like so Oriental is sila lahat. It's very diverse, but like they're very helpful to me. So yun nga, madami, most of them are Caucasians, but like it's a very open and kind of safe space for me. I don't remember I get discriminated at all. And like the very moment I came here, everyone tried to help me in their own little way, or even in big things. Like for example, pagdating ko dito, I wanted to take out some of the shelves of here in the library. Hindi uso sa Europe yung may hauler, especially I think I came here during COVID. So wala ka mare-request na ganon, and daming mahirap na protocol. So what some of the OI scholars did, kasi yun na advantage, majority sa kanila lalaki. Tinulungan nila ako, binuhat nila yung mga shelves, nilinis yung building namin, and parang technically library archive tong general building, which houses 300,000 collection of manuscripts, books, etc. So yun, sila yung tumulong sa akin. So it's really fun. I don't see the disconnect much. Although for me, like, of course, I also try to be professional, and given that it's a COVID situation, we have less contact because they're also very busy on their own. They're publishing books. They have all the presentations and all. So pero yun nga, I mean, every now and then they would even visit me. And to be honest, how sympathetic they are. So my parents passed away last month. So like, even it was not part of the privileges we have, but like they were really so considerate. So sinasabi nga nila, para Reysa, if you wanted to be absent ka lang, okay lang sa amin. But I know that was the month that we were crazy busy on a lot of administrative things. But yun, I mean, they were very considerate at some point, and I like the environment here. I really like it.
Ang saya. Parang yun yung sabi ko, ang saya, Reysa. Pero not to compare, pero syempre iba naman, no? European. And then, how was your work, for example, in Vanuatu and then in Kazakhstan, no? In terms of the organization and the people? Mm-mm.
Yeah, okay. So outside the library, kasi malaking organization. Like, for example, NULITS dati, the Nazarbayev University Library and Information Technology Services is comprised of 100 people. So ang mga kasama ko lang that I became close are the reference department, the people in the reference department. Kasi we are about 100. So hindi kaming masyado magkakilala. We just go out for some during occasions, during events in the university. In general, but not really in a bad way, Kazakhstan is more strict on rules. Kasi post-Soviet country siya. So, medyo, yun, rule-bound sila, which is exactly fascinating because it's totally opposite. When I went to Vanuatu, lahat ng mga locals dun super chill. They don't have that sense of urgency, which for us, if we were Filipinos, we are going to be, we're not going to be comfortable with it, right? And plus, I came from Korea pa. We even have a term in Korean when we do things. It's like pali-pali, right? So you need to fast. You need to do it fast. And here goes Vanuatu, chill lang. Pag na-late, wala problema. Pag things are not accomplished, carry lang. Parang ganun. Parang, ano ba to? Parang yun nga. That was what I was thinking. Kasi they're not used to be goal-oriented. Opposite that is I have colleagues from Australia, from France, and yung kasama ko in the library was an American. So she's very vocal. She wants things done as well. She's very smart. So yung parang yun nga, yung cultural differences we need to reflect in everything we work on from the library level to outside the library. Kasi sobrang painstaking ang isang process when it goes out of the library. And another distinct characteristic of the University of South Pacific is that we cover 14 countries. It's a regional university. So although technically I was working in Vanuatu and specifically working on the School of Law, but there are other School of Laws in 7 other countries, I believe. It was like Samoa, Papua New Guinea, Solomons, Kiribati, Tonga, and like other countries. Tapos meron pa kaming sub-networks which are in different islands again. So you collaborate. The challenge is collaborating with locals who have a different perspective of how things are done, and the international hires who have also a very unique way of doing things. So, but for me, it was more of a challenge, and actually that was not the reason that I left Vanuatu. But yeah, so yun lang, yung adjustments, parang one day when you just sit down and you're already in a different place, parang ay, ganito pala magtrabaho dito. Yun lang. I mean, and you try to understand like in their context of how they understand things. So, it's not really stressful, but it was just different. I could just say it's different.
Okay, so in terms of yung cultural differences, no, hindi naman siya, kasi parang multicultural. So in Czech Republic, meron bang instances that you really have to parang be cautious of the way you carry yourself because, baka may certain people na hindi accepting of who we are, yung ganyan. Or in your experiences in, let's say, in Vanuatu or Kazakhstan, parang, kasi I know in Kazakhstan, may Filipinos ka rin nakasama doon, di ba? So is it a conscious effort na, kunyari, when you're talking to this particular nationality, dapat iba ko? And then talking to this particular nationality, iba na naman. So, paano yung ganong iniisip ko nga paano yung ganung situation? Or is there a conscious really shift in your mindset na alam mo dapat yung mga taong kaharap mo, no? Kahit na galing sila sa iba't ibang bansa. How do you go about it, Reysa?
Yeah, that's true. Kailangan talaga, I think. And when I say multiculturalism, I think I wanted to include not just the ethnicity as well and language diversity, but yung sexual orientation.
Yes.
May anecdote ako dyan on culture and sexual orientation. Di ba kasi tayo Filipinos, I remember, or it's just in my language, walang pronoun. Nako-confuse ako sa he and she. So, tapos, I have this colleague who is a transgender, I think. Yeah, he's open transgender. So, pero, yun nga, kasi, natatakot ako if I would call him she because yun nga baka it's offending to him. But I mean at some point I made a mistake calling him as her. So I really communicated openly to him how I apologize. I said like, actually it's not really an excuse and I'm really always trying my best, but in my language, or it's just my thought patterns, I would always miss the he and the she. That's also one of the reasons there are a lot of languages like French, which I studied, and now Czech, that I cannot grasp everything because even their verbs and their adjectives have gender. So I explained to him that if I would call him she sometimes, it happens not only to him, it happens to everyone because I confuse the word, and I'm really sorry that this is happening. Another funny, so like, okay naman siya, very, he understands from my perspective how I make mistakes randomly, although I try to be as careful as I am, and probably I'm kind of person din na hindi ko skill maging tactful. But here's another funny experience, if I may. Like, eto nakakatawa talaga. When I was way back in Vanuatu, so as I've mentioned, I stay in Port Vila, which is like the metropolis of Vanuatu. But we have centers in other islands, like in provinces like Tana, Malikula, and Torba. Yung Torba nga wala siyang masyadong flights, and wala talaga, hindi siya ganun. One example ko lang is yung electricity doon is only between 6 to 9 p.m. So that's how less advanced they are. So, but I went to another place. It's called Malikula. That was one of my trips. And actually, papunta doon, 13-seater lang yata yung eroplano. And yung talagang, lang siya, chopper lang siya. Hindi mo na kailangan mag-seatbelt kasi hindi ka na rin magsusurvive. So I was doing my friends with that. So like just a picture of what the place is. And this place is known for having one of the last records of cannibalism. Kasi yung mga tribes doon, cannibal pa. Pero yun nga, it became kind of a bit of a stigma when we talk about this thing. So para pag sinabi mo, ay taga Malikula, parang copies na in the Philippines, ay aswang. So sa kanila, parang Malikula, cannibals. So parang gano'n. But of course, it's something that I should not be thinking most of the time, right? About cannibals and pigs. It's discriminating. So I have that at the back of my mind. And then I went there already, and then so basically tradition nila when they are when you have a visitor, they would give kind of a feast, and their feast is usually their special food is called lap lap. Lap lap is traditionally baked root crops, and then nilalagay sa yung niluluto siya sa dahon ng saging, tapos nilalagyan ng diverse root crops, and then sa gitna nun would be meat or like what we had was chicken. Walang spices, chicken lang. Chicken and salt, probably. They put salt on it. Tapos pag naluto yon, bubuhusan nila ng coconut milk. So basically, anyway, medyo hindi ako mahilig kumain ng root crops. So basically, medyo struggle saan, pero kailangan ko kumain. So one point, medyo stressed na ako sa pagkain. But I need to adjust. I mean, I'm aware of that even if you don't like certain foods, try mo lang kasi it's kind of accepting their culture. And so basically, that's one side of it. I was stressed. Pero another side of it is that the people from this island are actually kind of timid as well. Para sa mga provinces din natin, they are shy. So parang what I did is, so I was sitting down somewhere on one side and ayaw nilang lumapit. Tapos eto na. Kasi nagchat yata ako sa isang friend ko na dati na nakatira sa Vanuatu. Tapos gina-joke ako about cannibalism at sabi niya parang, ayan, parang mawawala na isang daliri mo dyan later, para ganon. Joke niya ako. Tapos, ito naman ako, dahil since I'm a Filipino and I'm Ilonggo, we have this term in Ilonggo, like, when we wanted to tell people like we are harmless, we say like, wala kami kapangaon tao, which means like, we don't eat humans, right? So basically, I don't know, it just blurted in me. Kasi tawa-tawa ako, na medyo stressed ako, I know the emotions are there. So the first word I blurted, just to crack a joke to this group of people or timid, it's like, you can share seats with me. I don't eat humans. These are the words I should not be saying. Well, basically, I seriously put my plate and like show my face that I'm really, really sorry to them. It's like, I'm really sorry. You know, I know these are not the words I needed to say. I know it. I'm so culturally insensitive. It's sensitive, but like explain to them again in my culture that was actually an idiomatic expression. So I just kind of, it's automatic in your mind, or I'm not that kind of person again, as I mentioned. Hindi ako ganun ka-tactful. So I just blurted it, and then like, yeah, it cost me sleepless nights as well. It's just something that I was not supposed to say. But yeah, I mean, yung ganon, yung mga cases ng ganon, if like, for me, in my experience, first, you need to really have a conscious effort to know their culture and to really like be careful in what you say. I think it's pretty much everywhere. Even the language, the way you speak the language, they hate it when you mispronounce a word. So be careful about that as well. And another thing is like when you make a mistake unintentionally, just profusely say sorry. They know your sincerity, and they're fine with it. Yep.
Ay, Reysa, just to follow up, no? Kasi nga, different cultures. Tas yun na nga eh. Siguro, one of your preparations also before going to a particular country is really researching on that country, diba? Talagang,
yes.
Tapos pagkaaralan mo pa yung language, ang dami mo nang alam na lengguwahe. Okay, so paano naman yung since napag-usapan na rin natin yung culture, pati nga yung ating mga dapat ingatan, 'di ba? Like sexual orientation ng mga tao, ganyan. Paano naman, kumusta yung org culture mismo, yung organizational culture? Sabi mo nga kanina dyan sa Czech Republic, parang talagang very open, 'di ba? Tapos parang light nga rin yung workload. If you really need to rest, you're allowed to really work from home, ganyan. So, how was the org culture? Syempre there with your current work. Tapos nabanggit mo sa Vanuatu, medyo light. Sa Kazakhstan, more rules. So, yon. Ano yung mga, can you just expound on those things?
When it comes to work culture siguro, I mean, I would just probably say dito sa Kazakhstan, sa Czech Republic. Yun nga, one of the things is that there is there's a work-life balance. I could say that. The dynamics. Okay, so probably I could delve into the management style they have. Yun nga, I've been mentioning in passing. They're very sensitive and all-inclusive. In fact, yun nga, one of the things is that I even have a colleague here, magsa-70 na. Pero dahil she's still able, hindi nila pinapaalis. And they even kind of make an offer. And they communicated it clearly to me. They said, medyo matanda na to, she's been here for quite a long time, we don't want to offend her, and like, yun ang maganda. Sinabi nila sa akin na para they don't want her to leave with a bad feeling towards the organization, although medyo, syempre may mga limitations na dahil yun nga matanda na, I mean, they have other things to attend to, and like, I should not be comparing, but like basically iba yung level ng work nila at saka the way they understand how they're going to work, yung work dynamics nila. So yeah, for one, they're very considerate. Second, probably when I talk about organizational culture, I also wanted to discuss na rin the work dynamics outside my library, the library. So kasi sa library, I'm the only person who is non-Czech. The rest of my group are Czech. But outside, yung sa whole institute, majority are scholars. They are from, as I've mentioned, they came from different countries, from mostly European countries, Latvia, Germany, France, Italy, but there's some from the US. There's one Japanese, but she came from the US as well. So, kanya-kanyang trabaho lang kami. I mean, the same old thing. We have a meeting once a month. Pero siguro kasi, I mean, COVID times then, I may not really have an accurate picture of what is the culture outside dahil first separate building ako pala within the group. I am in the informatics building, and the Oriental Institute is just isang tumbling na building. It's a different building, and this is where the other special libraries and collections are. So dito, general library, doon we have Luzon library, which is Chinese library. We have Tibetan. We have another special John Fairbank library. We have Korean library there. So one, hindi ko sila masyado nakikita, but if it comes to the culture, they are they communicated well. They communicated well, and they're very, very sensitive to us. And aside from being considerate, I think another thing that I wanted to note is because they are probably Orientalists. So naiintindihan din nila yung South Asian, naiintindihan nila yung Middle Eastern countries, yung dynamics. They're used to being diverse. And by the way, I think each of people here except me speaks at least 5 languages. It's safe to say that. And my library has about ngayon yung naiisip ko pa lang, I think we have about 40 languages na discover kami. Some of them I've never heard of them before, like Kalmik Pairat, and pa ba? Well, of course the Hindi languages, Tamil, whatever, we know about that. But yeah, there's really a lot of words that I just encountered here. So, but the thing is, when it comes to organizational culture, one thing I've noticed here is hindi ka pa pwede magsabi hindi mo alam yan. Because I think everyone knows that there's technology. So if you do not know something, use tools so that it will be facilitated. So like for me, I think this week I was trying to research on something. It was in Czech language, yung reports. So basically what I did is, before, of course, I asked help from my colleagues. I asked them to, I really tried to translate it myself, yung report, yung buong report. Diba may mga Google Translate naman kinakamera, nakakatawa ka lang tignan minsan kasi yun nga, nagkakamera ako, hindi ko kasi kayang basahin. I can pick up some base words in Czech language, but yun nga, hanggang colloquial lang. Pero when it comes to in-depth language, I mean, I have no idea about it. But at least I need to know, I need to recognize it's a Georgian language, it's Chinese, it's Japanese, it's katakana, it's pinyin, something else. So those kind of things. Yun nga. Pero yun nga, sa culture parang it's very, very dynamic. It's very dynamic here, and it makes everything exciting because everyone is cooperative, and we really work together.
Kanina po, nasabi nyo na yung management style dito sa mga organization na to. May na-mention po, I think, dyan sa Czech Republic, meron silang, yung management style is very sensitive and inclusive, no? So, sa inyo po, yung management style nyo, do it change between countries, no? Between institution? Nagpapalit po ba yan or nag-a-adjust kayo in order to manage the institution properly, or your usual management style is enough to manage that institution?
I would probably say yes and no. Yes, kasi may mga parts na the same pa rin eh. I mean, my principle ever since is that we get things done through people. So it applies everywhere. So take care of everyone so that they will take care of you, or they will take care of the organization. Hindi na kailangan siguro sa akin, but I mean, take care of the organization. And like, for me, the authenticity of good intentions is also very important. Regardless of mukha kang strict, as long as they would see that you are doing it right, I think that helps. Another important thing that I learned and I realized, I think I always keep on enhancing is my cultural skills. Of course, yun nga, yung no side ko na is probably it changes. My management style changes when it comes to the areas of like cultural awareness, yung cross-cultural knowledge ko sa kanila, kasi that's how you can make them believe on what your goals are, and make them help you do things and get it done if they know that what you're doing is not actually something that is only for your own good, diba? So para on that side, you need also to understand the context of their culture. Going back nga, parang I always give as reference yung ALA diversity competencies. For me talaga, I believe most of them are applicable, although it was only for academic libraries. But for me, I find it very useful in the Philippines. I think na-study din ng ibang librarians yan dyan. But I thought it was really very useful for me. Like one, for example, in my management style, although I'm trying to be goal-oriented and output-based, but on my end, I always believe I needed to be culturally aware of myself, of my own culture and the culture of others. Second, yung cross-cultural knowledge, like how if we overlap each other, where should I stand firmly and where should I submit myself? Kasi para at some point, it's acceptance na parang, okay, ganyan ang culture nila, I mean, tanggapin natin. Let's be creative on how we are going to deal with them. Another thing is the recognition of the workforce diversity. Workforce diversity, as I always mention, it's not just about cultural side. It could be like our educational background as well, our languages, our orientations in a lot of levels, even if it's political or yun nga, even I just remembered now yung stand, like even in vaccines, I had a staff who doesn't really want to get vaccinated, so it affected actually the group, kasi nga parang every time one of us gets flu, siya yung nagpapanik. And so I told him, I just talked to him, it's like when you decided not to get vaccinated, you should have known the consequences of it. And you are not supposed to blame us all for what you believed in. I respect your belief, but you should also respect us all being what we are. Like when we get sick, you cannot just barge in the middle of the night and tell me to assure you that I do not have COVID because I'm vaccinated and you are not. So those kind of things. Minsan may a little firmness din ako. At some point, you would always have chances of disagreeing, but sometimes you need to be firm, but sometimes you also need to yield on it, or sometimes you ask interventions from some people to understand their context. So yun nga, yung diversity lang. And another form of diversity is that ako lang yung librarian. The rest are specialists in their own fields. There are sinologists, there are those who are on Hebrew studies, there are some who are on Middle Eastern studies. So bawat isa sa amin actually, aside from the fact that all of them speak Czech and all of us speaks English, most of them speak as I've mentioned, 4 or 5 other languages, which are their specialization. And another thing I would always note, and like for me, hindi ako offended, is when they wouldn't tolerate my wrong pronunciation of specific words. So first, okay, even sa names, actually yung ginagawa ko, noong una, by the way, before I came here, I thought like it was easy for me to pronounce. Pero pag-release pala ng sound, iba. So nagkakamali siya. So, for example, the way I pronounce one of the person's name here. So, it's Vaclav. So, pero yung C is ch, here, ch. So, pero, para nagmamadali ako, I would always say Vaclav. So para akala pala nila Vaclav ang sabi ko Vaclav yun. Hindi lang tayo masyado nag-emphasize. So hindi ako yung parang, sa kanila kasi every word is really pronounced. So para ako, hindi ko kaya yun in the beginning. So that's kind of the thing. Sometimes I get pissed off. Probably if I would have just thinking about like, bakit ka mapipiss off with these things, I would probably have I would be hurt. Honestly, I was a bit hurt in the beginning. Like, parang yung the perfect time probably, pinibitch ako. pero yun nga, na-realize ko, parang ayaw lang talaga pala nila pag hindi mo na-pronounce. Kasi sa atin, parang pag medyo slang, the term we use is slang, right? Yung accent mo, for example, you're talking in Ilonggo, but you have this accent which is a bit in American, tuwang-tuwa tayo, ay slang siya. Pero sa kanila, galit sila doon, na para slang yung pagka-pronounce mo ng word. Ayaw nila yun. So parang, you really need to speak the way they pronounce the words. Which is, outside the work na lang, last example ko lang, nakakatawa yung daily life ko rin dito is actually so funny. So when I go to beef shop, so majority hindi sila nagsasalita in English. Tapos nakasulat sa shops are in Czech. Nababasa ko konti yung mga words na yon. Pero hindi ko na po pronounce masyado. So ano nakakatawa kasi ito, pumipila na ako. Tapos pag napipili ko na yung bibilhin ko, magba-back off muna ako. Pa-practice ko muna yung pronunciation ko ng word. Minsan pinapauna ko pa several people.
Sample.
Pa-practice muna ako yung kurichi. Kasi the R is, I actually made an example here. I don't know if it can be shown. So this one is tree. It's R plus ZH na nakaroll yung R. G. So just an example. Pangatlong, ano pa lang yan, number pa lang yan, hindi ko na ma-pronounce. So that's how complicated their words here are. And for me, sabi ko nga sa kanila, monosyllabic ang language ko eh. Wala kami masyadong consonant. Sa kanila 5 consonant, 1 vowel. Meron pa yan. So parang gano'n. So hindi ko ma-pronounce. Pero what I did is, I tried to learn. It was really funny. I even make a joke out of it as well. And pinag-uusapan din namin yan ng mga iba kong kasamang international dito. Sabi ko, alam mo ba, pag pumupunta ako sa beef shop or any shops and walang nag-English, dahil marunong naman ako magbasa, binabasa ko pero nagpa-practice muna ako sa likod. Tapos sasabihin ko, babalik ako sa linya pag alam ko na tama yung pagka-pronounce ko. Minsan pumapalya pa rin. And they said like they also do that.
Kasi if you pronounced it wrong, paano yun, hindi ka nila i-entertain?
Yes, hindi nila maiintindihan. Or I think one, hindi probably talaga nila maintindihan. Or second, ayaw nila na hindi ka nag-i-immerse sa culture. That's a bit of it. Although Czech Republic in general is more accepting. Hindi rin sila snobbish like in other major countries. No offense meant, but I mean, in my experience, France or Germany, medyo ano sila. Unlike, pero ito, Central European countries like Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic, medyo mas open-minded sila. At saka, yun nga, they don't care if you are a Filipina. Unlike in other countries, like for example, I know when I went to Hong Kong, akala they would always treat you as a domestic helper. When I was in Korea, yung mga ajuma, sabi sa akin, ano daw ako, factory worker daw ako. So para for me, I just accept it. Pero para if there's a country that is safer for me to work and to be recognized as a person, I would rather be there. And like this is one of those places. Same as I think me and Christian and Ira, we know Poland. Ano talaga, parang ganun din. Fun-loving yung mga tao. So, it's easy to deal with them in general.
Ang ganda po ng story ni Mom Reysa na talagang napaka-rich and talagang na-embody niya na yung multiculturalism and internationalization. Ma'am, with all this experience, ma'am, do you think you can recommend working abroad to our student of LAS? Would you recommend them?
Definitely I would. Kasi parang madami kang makukuhang perspectives. And it's for me it's totally different from what what I used to know as a person. And yun nga, parang yung adjustment mo, yung natitest yung ano mo, yung capability mo to adjust on a certain level, and a lot of times your flexibility and creativeness as well. Kasi pag nasa labas ka na bansa, wala kang matatanungan. We all know that, especially in Europe. Alam mo yan, hindi ka lang makakapagtanong sa kanila. You need to use your phone, you need to use all the gadgets that you have, kasi hindi lahat sasagot sa'yo and hindi lahat cooperative sa'yo. So you need to be very, very independent at one point. Second, yun nga, parang yung open-mindedness. I mean, I may not perfectly be the kindest person or the nicest person when everyone bumps into me, but basically, I know that I understand other cultures, and you can distinguish the intentions of people. So yeah, yung survival mo din, up to survival level. May last joke pa ako dyan, kasi there are some of my friends would call me a spy, kasi when I was in Uzbekistan, hindi ko alam, para pinagdudahan ako when I was at the airport, kasi nga parang that time active pa yung American passport ko, American visa ko. So paano natin alam, may American visa ako, galing ako Korea, tapos madaming, parang puno na yata yung passport ko kasi matagal ko na siyang ginagamit, pa-expire na. So when I went, and the time I went to Uzbekistan, before that, para within the 6-month period, paikot-ikot ako somewhere in Central Asia, then bumalik ko sa Pilipinas and all. So parang nagduda sila. Noong una, akala ko in the beginning, that's kind of the general rule, you speak the language. Like, for example, kahit mag-greet ka lang in Russian, to zdravstvuyte, kailangan i-practice mo siya, or like when I'm in Hungary, I try to practice some of the words. So ginawa ko yun. Yun pala, they took it like against me. That like, so they asked me, so what languages do you speak? Sabi ko, I studied, but I'm not so sure how much of the languages I speak. Kasi hindi naman talaga ako yung fluent magsalita on any language. Mababasa ko lang, pero hindi masyado. So I said, like, I studied Russian, Korean, Bahasa, sabi ko gano'n. So speak English. Sabi ko, English is the main language I use. So parang, di ko na alam, pero nakalagpas na ako sa customs. Tapos tinawag pa ako ng airport police. Pinapunta ako doon sa storage area. Hinalugog yung buong gamit ko to the last bits. And in the beginning, they were talking in Russian, which I'm trying to answer a bit. Kasi tinatanong nila, sabi niya, saan siya nagtatrabaho. So parang sabi ko, I really work in Nazarbayev University. So binigay ko pa yung address. Sabi ko, you can call these people and so on. So pero yun nga, tapos later nag-Uzbek na sila, pero kinabahan ako. So pero yun nga, parang that's the other side, the risky side of going out of the country. But like, it's a great learning experience, and at the same time, for me, we are also sharing what we are as a people. Hindi lang nila yung na break yung barrier that they have a perception that when you're outside the country, like you're a domestic helper or you're just there to work and uutusan ka lang. There's nothing wrong. I mean, with these very respectable jobs, and I know how great they are. They do better than I do, I think. I mean, maraming OFW at that level or doing it well. But the only thing is how people perceive them to be. That's really a challenge. So for me, knowing, minsan yan nga, sinasabihan nila, ay Filipina ka, pero nagtatrabaho ka pala sa university. So parang when I was in Nazarbayev University, before we hired Joseph, 3 lang kami sa university who are Filipinos. And I'm the first Filipina. I'm the first na babae na pumunta doon. Second si April. So yun, so parang hindi pa nila kilala what Filipinos are. The same year, they were even saying like, we don't know what the Filipina would be. So yun, so naiiba kasi minsan may perception pa ibang nationalities that when we are Filipinos, we are just kind of asawa ng Caucasian or something. So for me, like having more people working abroad as professionals as we are, nakakatulong. Kasi one, you are helping them understand that you are Filipinos and you are professionals as well. And second, yun nga yung nakaka-help din to understand our profession. Like for example, when I was in Kazakhstan, nag-attend kami na academic integrity conference, sabi ng isang professor, sabi niya, oh, I didn't know some librarians have master's degree. Sumagot yung isang kasama kong Kazakh, sabi niya, actually she even has a PhD. Kasi hindi nila alam naman nagma-masters na PhD tayo. So for me, like, I encourage people because we bring a different image of our country, and we also learn a lot when we're out of the country.
Reysa, are there certain qualities sa tingin mo, based on your experience, that you should have before you venture into working abroad? Like, you have to be independent, you have to be open-minded, or you believe that everything can be learned? Kasi, diba, there are some people who are really not comfortable going outside the country. Dahil parang takot mag-isa. Okay, siguro for travel, pero like working there, and you have to learn the language, you have to deal with the day-to-day parang operations of your life there, diba? Going to the market, doing banks, everything, no? So you think there are certain qualities that you should have before you work abroad? Now, based on your experience.
The first thing that comes into my mind is you need to be really brave enough to be ready at some point. Yeah. So brave. Actually, to be honest, umalis lang ako ng Ilo-Ilo when I already think like I'm ready to explore the world already. One of the things na inaral ko din, I don't know if it's really, hindi ako ganun makagaling, pero talaga nag-martial arts ako. Seriously, physically, emotionally, psychologically, I guess you need to be brave, and you know that you can do something. At least you have that level of survival. Yun lang. So first, you need to be brave. Second, you need to be creative as well. You need to be creative in such a way that you will be able to find ways to address whatever challenges you have. And third, I think, or like even should have been the first, patience. Patience really, and patience is really a must. Kasi parang for me, in my experience working abroad, there are a lot of challenges. Actually, hindi siya madali. Mukha lang parang this year nandito ako sa ganitong country, next year nandun ako sa isang country, kung saan ako umikot-ikot. It looks like it's easy, but actually it's very, very hard kasi yung pagkuha mo pa lang ng mga documents, talagang it's a struggle. And actually, network is very important. Both personal networks and professional networks are very important, actually, because they could really help you find the right people or the right institution who can help you. And I think another important characteristic is being humble. I mean, hindi ako mukhang humble all the time. I would fight back on things I think I want to. But yeah, you really need to be humble to accept whatever mistakes you have. And the fact that you really need to accept the fact that you do not have the knowledge, the monopoly of knowledge, right? Yung para, akala natin, nag-PhD na ako, magaling na ako. Hindi, wala. I started from scratch. I really learned everything. Every time I go to an organization, I never become complacent, because they have a different way of doing things and they have a different set of skills. You really need to build on your skills in every place because it's a new experience. So for me, yeah, most of all, actually, you really need to be humble enough to accept your weaknesses so that you'll be able to address them, and humble enough to accept that sometimes a lot of things happen because it's just cultural. So parang if they say, bakit hindi siya marunong mag-pronounce nito, parang wag kang magalit kasi parang totoo yun eh. Totoo yun. Pero yun nga, parang accept lang and have an open mind on everything. Don't say that they're doing this because they wanted to hurt you or something. Always believe in the goodness of people. For me, I dwell in a lot of my survival in other countries. I was helped by a lot of people which I never expected would help me. So for me, it's really an important characteristic or an important tool for you to survive other countries.
Yeah, and I think that, yung kindness sometimes is a scarcity, diba? And we know, like, for some countries, diba, namamag na yung tao without even getting help from people. Pero yung banking on people's kindness everywhere you go, parang magdadasal ka na lang na, Lord, sana mababait yung mga tao, lalo na if you are in a strange place. Okay, I know, Reysa, you're just starting in this whole journey, diba? Pero so far, what is your biggest takeaway in everything that you've experienced going to and from different countries?
For me, actually, my biggest takeaway is that every time I leave a particular place. Kasi ngayon nga, temporary lang naman ako dito. Hindi ako resident or probably, I try to commit myself, but well, let's face it, it's kind of a contractual basis always if you're not a citizen. So my takeaway is that in every country I've been to, I have something I would leave behind as a Filipina. So yeah, and actually hindi mo sila naiiwan eh. You keep on having this network and these ties everywhere you are, and you would always have something to share with them, or they would have something to share with you. Like when I was in Surmieda University, I think I'm really proud of it kasi Filipinos kami yung nag-establish somehow ng part ng Surmieda University. Like take for example, I started a bit on information literacy and instruction, and then finalo up ni Joseph kasi super galing ni Joseph in media and information literacy, and since he stayed longer, he did a lot of innovations as well. And on my end, before I left Surmieda University, they've known me for introducing the UN 2030 agenda and the sustainability skills. So for me, hindi man siya alam ng lahat ng tao that I did this, and I think only a few knew about it, but for me, it's fulfilling that some of those who knew me, they would always say that, like, we're really happy to have you as our mentor and as a friend, as a colleague as well, as a colleague in the profession. Same in Vanuatu, we had this project on multiculturalism or building multicultural competencies. So I hope that was something. I also tried to promote the 2030 agenda. So sana nga magbi-build pa kami ng libraries. At some point I attempted to collaborate with Quintin Pastrana for the library renewal partnership, pero hindi natapos, and for all the bureaucracies and situations that happened. So and here I'm hoping one of the reasons why I took this job is because it has been existing for 100 years. We have even cuneiforms here, as I've mentioned. We have 40 languages that we discovered, which might grow into 70. And never siya na-organize. Yung books namin dito, ino-organize lang by sizes. So it's a struggle for me, actually. And daming gagawin. And we integrate digital humanities here. So there's the old side of it, but there's technology. So ang daming gagawin. So I was saying to myself, like, I'll see myself what I can do in 5 years. So for me, those kind of simple things, hindi man siya sobrang malalaman ng lahat. But I mean, the mere fact that somehow probably in the history of a particular country, they would say like a Filipina actually partly helped build this part of the things. Siguro yun na lang yung takeaway ko. I mean, pinaka-takeaway ko, aside from the fact, as I keep on repeating, yung knowledge na nakukuha ko sa bawat country, hindi lang naman sila siguro yung nakaka-benefit sa akin. Ako din, malaki nagbe-benefit sa akin as a person and as a professional.
Yan, very well said. No, yung parang you're leaving an indelible mark sa lahat ng mga bansa na pinuntahan mo, diba? And that's a good thing. And that's what people will remember you by, diba? Kapag umalis ka, ganyan. Pero, tsaka ko na itatanong yun off the record, no? Kumusta naman ang other aspects of life, Reysa? Pero sige, tsaka na yon. Okay, for the last question, last question niya. What is your usual drink of choice when you are busy working? Ang dami-dami mong ginagawa dyan. Or relaxing? Anong iniinom mo?
Yeah, of course, all of us. I think as the program says, coffee break, di ba? Coffee talaga. Kailangan ko ng coffee yan. Mawala na lahat. Mawala ng love life. Kailangan ko pa rin ng cup coffee. And I drink like 3 cups. 3 cups of coffee a day. Wala akong choice. So obviously, pagdating ko dito in the morning, I need to have coffee, and then that's part of the routine. That's part of life. Coffee is lifeblood.
Next sa coffee ay
Rhea.
Ayan. So, thank you so much. Okay. So, we would also like to thank our coffee sponsor for Coffee Break. We have Cafe Moksha. So, these are Barako Coffee from Batangas. So, thank you so much, Cafe Moksha.
Bell na. So, I think we need to go back to our works since nag-bell na po.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc Reysa, Reysa. Ayan. We hope to have you again in the future episodes of Coffee Break. Ang dami namin natutunan ni Janny, no?
Ang dami po sobra. Akala ko experience ko sa Kuya yun pero mas marami yung kay Ma'am Reysa. Talagang
Kasi si Janny, di ba, nag-train ka rin abroad.
And I've been here for 6 months po, medyo matagal
You
din
lived
siya.
sa Netherlands, di ba?
Korea po, ma'am.
Sa Korea.
Korea. Nag-Korea ka rin. Okay. Yeah.
So, ayan. Kaya nakakatuwa kasi makikita mo yung pagdodocument ni Reysa sa kanyang mga escapades sa kanyang Facebook account. So, ayan. Join us again next month as we discuss another management topic and issue here in Coffee Break! Yahoo! Tapos ko na ang recording.